Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this particular video, I'm going to go over how to configure a VNet to VNet VPN gateway connection using PowerShell, and I'm going to follow this Microsoft documentation. If you search for the VNet to VNet peering in my channel, you will find another video where we have done this same work using the portal, where we have created two different virtual networks, created our subnets, created our gateway subnet, and then deployed the virtual network gateway in both virtual networks, and then went through connecting those devices using the connection object or connection feature. In this one, we're going to do similar thing, and we're going to use the PowerShell to do that. So again, I had one. This is what we did in our previous lab. So we had one subnet that was in the east, another one on the west. We had created a front end subnet, and then we created our gateway subnet. Same thing we did for the west, and then we deployed the gateway inside this gateway subnet, and then use connection to connect both networks. So in this one, if you look at it, what we are going to do here in this particular lab, they are doing two samples where two virtual networks, they're inside the same subscription. This is what we are going to complete. You can also do this if your virtual networks even in different subscription. You can still use the VNet to VNet connection. We are not going to do this step, okay, but we are going to create the test VNet, okay, and we're going to deploy that in the East US. We're going to maintain this address space, okay. We're going to use 10.11.00.16 as our address space, because they have two different address space in here, and here we are going to still keep 10.41.00.16, 10.42.00.16 as our address space, and we'll go from there. So let's get started. So again, here is the values for the test VNet 1. We're gonna create a test RG1, test VNet 1, and we'll create a front end, a back end, and we're gonna put the gateway subnet in the back end subnet IP address range. You see that? And we're going to stick to the route based VPN connection, and we are going to create a connection VNet 1 to VNet 4. This connection is not, we don't need this, okay, we are not going to need this, but we're going to need this connection for sure. For VNet 4, similar test VNet, it's going to have two different address space. Our front end, our back end, our gateway subnet will have /27. We're going to deploy that to West US. Okay, so things looks pretty okay. So we're gonna skip this because we're gonna do these steps from our Azure web CLI or web PowerShell. So first of all, we're gonna copy this. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna type shell.azure.com, and if you guys don't know about this, make sure that make a note of it. So most of the time you would probably go in here, click on this button to get to your window, PowerShell, and whichever you want, and you can, if you're connecting for the first time, you will have to create a storage account. What I'll do, I'll stick to this particular big window over here, so I have a little bit more real estate to work on and write my commands and see what is going on. So I did the same thing in both places, but probably I shouldn't have done, I should have waited. So anyway, let's see what's going on in here. I'm just gonna say create one more time, and here it is. So I have my PowerShell available to me, and now here I can perform all the actions. So first thing what they're doing, okay, they have RG1 location, then test VNet 1 front end, back end, and then VNet prefix 1112 front end prefix, back end prefix, gateway subnet prefix, gateway name, gateway IP name, gateway IP config name, connection 1 and connection 5 connection. So this is the one that we don't need. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy the rest of it, okay, because I'm not gonna connect to a different subscription. So this is all we need. Okay, so let's get that. Well, I can copy the whole thing, we're just not gonna use that one. Alright, so let's come back over here, paste it here. It's just creating some variables for us, right, and hit enter. So all those variables are now created. Now resource group name, I just have to make sure I don't have a test resource group name in my subscription. So let's go and verify just that. So let's just search for resource groups, go in there, and let's see, I have a test rg1 already and test rg4, they're already in there. So what I would do, let's come back over here, resource group, come back over here, test rg1, possibly what I'll do, I'll change this test rg1 to something else, and that else is gonna be or I can delete my resource group and do this deployment. Let me do that. Let me just pause the video first. Well, I can just do it as we speak. So we can delete this particular resource group, and here why it's here, because I did the same thing using portal. So if you look at it, I already have a virtual network. If you go to the virtual network, I already have a address space, and I already have subnet, one front end, one gateway subnet, and they're all deployed. And if you look at if you go back to rg1, go to the gateway, look at the connection, it's already all the connections and everything already been made. Okay, VNet 421, it's everything is done, everything is working fine, it's connected. Okay, now we have already done this work through the portal. So let's let me just delete this, and so that we don't have to mess with the names. Okay, let's copy that one and put it in here, hit delete, so that will start deletion of this resource group. Let's even delete that one, and if you have the resource group already, this is the way you delete it. And give me just a couple seconds. As soon as it's deleted, we'll start and proceed with the lab. Alright my friends, we have now deleted this to resource group, and if you look at it, it took about 10 minutes to delete it. So if you have a gateway subnet already deployed and delete in a resource group, it takes a little bit of time. Alright, now we should be ready to get started with the lab again. So I'm just going to reconnect. Okay, and it's connected back to a bash environment, so I'm just going to go back to the PowerShell. That's what we're going to use for this lab. Copy this whole thing again, and I'm still in shell.azure.com. So here again, what is this doing? This is just creating some variable for us, like it's creating the resource group name, location, virtual network, front end subnet, back end subnet, virtual net prefix 11, virtual VNet prefix 12, subnet prefix for the front end, subnet prefix for the back end, gateway subnet prefix, gateway name, then IP name for the gateway 1, IP config. Then this is the connection we are going to use, this is the connection we are not going to use, because I don't have another subscription right now with me. I just have one subscription. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is pretty simple command, a new AZ resource group. So it's going to create the new resource group, and this is the variable, so it's going to get this name test rg1, and it's going to get the location from location 1, which is east-west, right? So let's just do that, paste that command, hit enter. It succeeded. So I should have this resource group now available to us. So let's to verify if I refresh my resource group, and it sometimes takes just a little bit of time, so give it a little bit of time, and if it does not show up almost immediately, don't get frustrated, so just give it maybe a minute or so. Let's go back to my home, come back. Still not showing up in here. Now it showed up, you see. So give it a little bit of time, and if you want to watch what is going on, you can do the thing that I'm doing over, just coming back to the resource actual portal and making sure that your comments are also running properly. Alright, the next thing that we're gonna do, create the subnet that we need for this configuration. And this particular example is going to create a virtual network named test VNet. We already know that, and 3 subnet, gateway subnet, front end, and the back end. And this is again important that your gateway subnet, your subnet name has to be specifically gateway subnet, and it's a testable question. So you may Azure or the certification exam, you may get a question like that, hey, what is the name of the gateway subnet that you must use for the deployment? And your gateway subnet, it usually uses /27 or 28, and if you look at it, we have used /27 for our deployment. Okay, so when you configured, we said 10.12.255.0/27, so that meets the requirement that Azure wants or Microsoft recommends. So here I'm going to copy the next set of commands, go to the cloud cell and paste it over here. And now what is going on, it's going to create this so if you look at the real command, actually, new Azure virtual network config. So the configuration for these subnets are being created in here. Once that's done, so if you look at it, it's just getting the network to create my configuration, call it this particular name, add this prefix. Okay, that's all it's doing. And next we can use this configuration to create the test VNet one. So let's copy this one, come back over here and paste it. And here this command starts with new Azure virtual network. Here you're going to provide the new name, resource group name, location, address, prefix, and then subnet, if you subnet 1, 2 and 3, and these 3 variables that what we have generated in the previous command, right? So let's hit enter, and it should create your virtual network, which is the first virtual network. Okay, and then once that's done, we're going to request a public IP address that we're going to allocate to the gateway that we're going to create inside our virtual network. So let's copy this one and come back over here. Let's see, this is done. So I'm going to get the IP address and store it in GWIPP1. So it looks like that is also done. The next thing we need to do, we need to create the gateway, and we're going to provide this IP address that we created in this particular step. So copy this one, come back over here, paste that whole command and hit enter. So it has now associated that IP address to that particular subnet, particular gateway subnet. Alright, let's come back over here. Next thing that we need to do, so we are done up to this point. Create the gateway for the test VNet. So this is the actual virtual network gateway that we're going to create, and again this creation of the gateway takes about 45 minutes or more. So we're going to copy this one, and let's see, this is the gateway gateway 1. So let's start the deployment of that one. We can do this deployment just fine. It will just take some time, so you just have to wait for the deployment to be completely done. Okay, so at this time you can go back to the resource group, get inside the resource group, and what you are gonna see, you're gonna see that VNet that we have already created at the beginning, and it should have 3 different virtual networks or subnets. Sorry, go to subnet. It should have a front end, back end, and gateway subnet, and then we have also created our IP address, right? So that IP address is showing up over here. And now we have started deployment of this gateway, virtual network gateway. So if you click on that one, what you're gonna see that it will say this status is updating. So it's not the deployment is not done, it's the status is updating. and it was going to take about 45 minutes to fully deploy this particular gateway. And if you look at the connection, there should not be any connection here at all. Once this is done, you gotta have a connection to the other network to be able to talk properly and complete the VNet to VNet connection. Alright, let's come back over here. Test VNet 4, we can go ahead and configure that one. So let's copy that command while this is going on. Okay, this is going on. We can possibly just do that work from here so that we are not waiting on anything else. Let's see if it did give me anything. Yeah, it's down here. Just reconnect. Hopefully it will give me two different window and still will be able to run it. So it looks like it's going on just fine. So this similar to the first one here. We're gonna call the resource group at test rg4. Location, we're gonna deploy this in the West US. Again, we're gonna create a front end and back end virtual network, and then we have VNet prefix, two different address space, then front end address prefix, back end address prefix, and gateway subnet prefix 4. These are all in here. And the IP address GW, gateway IP name 4. In this particular VNet, the gateway they're going to get deployed, that will get this particular IP address, exactly the same as the first deployment. Alright, next go to the second one. Exactly same command to create a resource group. So hit, and then so that's gonna create this particular resource group, and within this resource group we're going to create 3 subnets. So this command that we're going to run, this is going to configure what needs to happen. And the fourth command that we have over here, this is actually going to create the virtual network exactly the same way, the way we have done the other one. If you look at it, this is the other virtual network, VNet 4, where we are creating this virtual network and creating these 3 subnets. Okay, so that's all done. Now again we're going to request a public IP. This is exactly same again. So here we go. So we should get a public IP allocated in a second. Once that's done, we should be ready to configure the gateway. So we'll copy that one and paste it over here. Okay, so that is some configuration for before we start deploying the virtual network gateway. And finally, if you get this command right here, come over here and paste it. And again, this is the exact same command that we ran and that is running over in this cell right now. And this is to create the virtual network gateway in the other virtual network. Okay, so again, this is gonna take a little bit of time, so I'm gonna give it some time, and then we're gonna pause the video. But before we do that, we'll go back over here again. What we'll do, if you will see the other resource group just real quick. So resource group, so we already looked at this one. So this is the one that we just performed some actions. Again, here you see we have a VNet 4, the virtual network has been created. If I go to that one, I should have 3 different subnets, front end, back end, and subnet. Okay, so again, if go back to the overview, go back to the resource group, we got the IP address that we're gonna use with this particular virtual network gateway. And if we click on that one, the status of this one is as well updating. And if you go to connection, I do not have any connection available at this time. Okay, so it's but we did run the connection command. We didn't even run the connection command. Somewhere it must have got the connection command. So it's but it's not, there is no connection available just yet. Okay, so again, come back, go back to the other resource group and go to RG1. Okay, RG1, I want to go back to this one real quick and click on connections. Okay, this one also figuring out that we'll have this kind of, so resource not found. So what you need to do, you need to kind of wait. So if I go back to the VNet 1 it's an updating state. So what it tells me, when we were running these commands, at some point must have added the connection, so that we already told them this particular virtual network needs to be connected to the other one. So let's do a connection command, and let's just see if there's anything that we have done in those commands. Interesting. I don't think I have run these commands yet, but it's still picking up those and trying to create the connection. All right, we'll just wait for a little bit, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, and it will take about 45 minutes for the deployment. So I know that, so be patient with this particular lab, because you will have to deploy this to configure a network, and this deployment, as I said, it takes about 45 minutes or so. So I'm going to come back probably about 3 o'clock or so, and at this time, if this deployment is all done, we will verify, we'll make the connections sure, and what will happen, this status of this network, right now it says unknown or something. It should say connected. Once it is connected, then only you can perform, they can talk to each other. Okay, all right, so it's not doing anything, so let's just pause the video and come back in about 40 minutes and then finish up the lab. Okay, it's been a while, so I'm back. So I'm gonna come back and see what's going on with our resources. And if you want to take a look at the status of your deployment, you can always go to the resource group. Okay, this is the resource group, and here under deployment you can see the status. Sometimes this is a little weird. If you do it, the deployment using the PowerShell, nothing shows up. So this didn't help me. So I gotta go to the virtual network gateway and see what we have. Here I don't see any status, like the status didn't say that it's updating, so it's telling me that it's working fine. I want to go to the connections, and there is no connection right now. That is good, that's what I was expecting. So let's go to home and go to the other resource group. And here again, if I'm going to go to the other virtual network gateway, there's no comment like it's updating, so it looks like it's available to me. Connections, nothing there. So I think the connection that you saw, that was probably because I had the same resource group, and I deployed same connections right before this lab. Azure somehow knew that we were going to do that or something, or it was still deleting. But now there's nothing there. So if I deploy my resources in these two virtual networks, they will not be able to talk to each other. So what we want to do next is create the connection, which is the step 4. Okay, and just copy these commands, and if you come over here, just say reconnect, and it will connect back you to our PowerShell window. What happened? Alright, it's giving me trouble, so I'm just gonna go to the shell and let's see if it's working from here fine or not. Okay, let's just quit this and then just do shell. Maybe I'm completely logged. Yeah, I'm logged out actually. So just log back in. Yes, and this one should give me the shell back. Now don't do this to me. says Firefox default settings is giving you trouble, so let's get out of here again. I want to come back over here, go back to the shell one more time. I've never seen this problem. Cloud shell timeout. Cloud shell has been idle for 20 minutes, so you have manually exited. Firefox default setting can cause all the disconnects. Follow these resolution steps to update setting. Early Firefox setting. Okay, let me look at this and then connect back. Alright, I'm still getting this connection error. So what I'll do, I'll just go and log in using my shell window and connect to my Azure subscription, just like that. Connect Azure account, and we'll just try to run the last two commands using using that shell window from my personal computer. Okay. Alright, we are back in here. So what we have done, we have run this command and the other command, so both are successful, and you can now come back to any of the virtual network and come to the connections. You will see that both of the connections showing up. Now the status, it takes 5 to 10 minutes to before the connection is properly established, so give it a little bit of time, and then once it's connected, deploy a couple of machines. Okay, so let's pause for a couple more minutes. I'm going to go to the first one, go to the connections and see the status. One of them is now says connected, another one is unknown, so we created the 1.4 first, so give it another minute or so. Once this one is also says connected, we are going to deploy a couple of machines. Okay, in this one the same thing, that one the same thing. Okay, let's pause. Alright everyone, we are back, and now if you see both of the connection, it says connected, and I'm within the first virtual network gateway one. If you go to the other one on the 4 gateway that's deployed at 4 and go to connection, it should say the connection is successful in both ways as well. So if I go back to our drawing, so we started with two different regions, okay, East US and West US. We had front-end gateway subnet, and we also had a back-end subnet. Same thing we over here, front-end, back-end, and we had a gateway subnet. We deployed a VPN gateway in this gateway subnet, okay, and we also deployed another VPN subnet in this particular gateway subnet. Then once the deployment is done, it took about 45 minutes. Then we connected this to VPN subnet or VPN gateway to make the connection, and this connection is secured and encrypted, and our traffic, if you capture it, you will not be able to read it, and we have used a shared access key to do the encryption, to set up this encryption, and that shared access key has to be same. Whatever you are providing here, you gotta provide here. So we made two connection objects, one from here to there, and another one from here to there, and another from here to there. Two connection objects, and we have provided the shared access key, and then we waited, and now we see everything is now connected. Sorry about the really messy picture, but I just wanted to give you an overall view of our network that we worked on today. So with that, I'm going to end the video here. For you, I recommend that you go ahead and now deploy a couple more virtual machines here and test that you can talk to each other. Thank you. Bye-bye.